been coming live or doing videos, it's because I have been really busy. So I guess my thing just reconnected for some reason. Hopefully, no internet problems. Mercury is finally going direct, but has not cleared shadow. Okay, and today is Wednesday, the day of Mercury. And incidentally, I am under a Budh Mahadasha. Okay, a Budh Mahadasha and a Venus Antardasha. So Mercury happens to be quite a prominent planet for me in both. Still talk about Mercury because Mercury is about making all the connections. And this video is so very important right now because Mars has just gone into Gemini in the tropical system, of course. But we are here today to explore Mercury through the Vedic system. Okay. Now, a lot of significations overlap one another, so that's pretty interesting. Both these planets, the same planet in both these systems, deal with communication. That is absolutely correct. But the Vedic understanding is quite nuanced. So I'm going to tell you a bit about that, okay? So now the thing with Mercury is that Mercury is friends with Sun and Venus. Thank you. With Sun and Venus. Mercury is friendly with Sun and Venus. Okay, it's understandable because Mercury travels with the Sun most of the times. Okay, so enemy of Mercury is one planet only, and that is the Moon. Okay, so the Moon is the enemy of Mercury. Incidentally, in Hellenistic astrology, the Moon has planetary joy in the third house, which is the place of, thank you, which is the place of Gemini. Okay, the third house. Now, neutral is Saturn, Mars, and Jupiter. So I did tell you that Mercury and Saturn do have a pretty close relationship. Okay, they're pretty close. And let's delve a bit more into Mercury. What is Mercury known as? But before I want to get into that, my grandfather always used to say that he would teach me a lot of Vedic astrology when I was a child, and he would just discuss with me. And he would say that if the Lord of the Sixth was with Mercury on the Lagna, then the native would be mute. And strangely, I have the Lord of my sixth, which is Saturn, conjunct my Mercury in my Lagna, okay, on my Lagna in Leo, right? Yes, yes. So what happened was that I do have two names actually, Tina Mukherjee and Tina Heals. So which is the name of my brand, and my my healing name, so to speak. So he used to say that you have this classic sign that you could be mute. And I was not mute. I wasn't atypical either with my studies. But I was very shy. And, possibly the thought of getting on a video and discussing astrology like this, I would not have crossed my mind, okay? Then slowly it took me a while to get out of that shell and to sort of start expressing myself. Okay, so with that Mercury and Lord of the Sixth conjunct on the Lagna can make one extremely shy and in some extreme cases mute. And definitely atypical learners, definitely atypical learners. So we just got speaking about the planets that Mercury is friendly with, who Mercury is neutral with, and the enemy of Mercury is the Moon, the two most quick flying planets, right? So now, of course, Mercury is the lord of two signs, which is Virgo and Gemini. Okay. Now, of course, his Mool Trikon sign is Virgo, right? Mool Trikon sign is Virgo, which is 15 degrees of Virgo to 20 degrees of Virgo. Now, Mercury's exaltation is 15 degrees of Virgo. All right. That means Mercury's debilitation or detriment is, or fall position of Mercury is 15 degrees of Pisces. right? So we actually see how Mercury in Pisces is not your logical, rational thinker, but it's a very dreamy, a very intuitive sort of energy that Mars brings, that Mercury brings in Pisces. That's why I guess it was considered detriment, because Mercury in Virgo is a hardcore power to reckon with, extremely sharp with analytics, cogitation. So when Mercury gets to that Pisces, and especially that 15 degrees of Pisces, and 15 degrees of each sign is considered to be the angel degree. Okay, this is where the sign sort of expresses itself most fluidly, right? Now, debilitation we spoke about. Now, sex of Mercury is a male eunuch. All right. So even in Hellenistic astrology, Mercury is not male or female, but hermaphrodite. Okay. So male eunuch, right? Now, the thing with Mercury is, if you're invoking Mercury, better be on Wednesday. It better be on the hora of Mercury. Okay, a hora is again another completely muhurtas and horas and tithis and all of that is a separate video. So I'll just say this much, that you need to face north to call Mercury. You need to face north. Okay. Now, and you need to wear green. Green. Green is his favorite color. Brown and all sorts of pastels and soft colors. Okay. Now, because I have a Mercury Mahadasha, I also do tend to wear a brass bangle, which is very powerful for Mercury Mahadasha or Antardasha. Okay. Now, emerald and onyx, both these stones are very precious to Mercury. Thank you. Very precious to Mercury. Emerald as well as onyx. Okay, especially if you're under a malefic Mercury Mahadasha or Antardasha. All right. Now, a deity to propitiate or havans to do would be Vishnu or Narayan. So, Namo Narayana is a very powerful chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Now, Mercury's mantra, which you face north on the hora of Mercury, you say Om Brahm Bring Brong Se Buddhyaya Namaha. Om Brahm Bring Brong Sa Buddhyaya Namaha. Okay. Now, his Vedic mantra is Priyangu Kalika Shamam Rupena Pratimang Budhang Saumyang Sarvaguna Petam Namami Shashinam Sutam. So he's a brother of the moon, and the moon is his enemy. So we know a bit about civic rivalry, right? Now, this chant that I told you, Om Brahm Reem Brom Sa Buddhyaya Namaha. His name is Buddh basically, and Wednesdays are called Budvar. Okay, this needs to be chanted 19,000 times in 21 days, especially if you want to get the blessing of Mercury, especially if you're under a Mercury Mahadasha or an Antardasha or a Bhukti also. Okay, now articles of donation. I told you how Vedic astrology loves to propitiate the celestial beings through donation, because that means you're working directly with their energy, the things that are special to them, you need to donate. So, of course, ivory is illegal, but in the ancient eras, ivory was donated. Okay, but ivory is absolutely illegal. So, no, no, but this is more for an academic discussion at this point. Sugar, very doable. You can very well gift a homeless man sugar. No problem with that. Okay, green cloth. So, if you want to give somebody a shawl, you can give them a green also. That will help propitiate Mercury. Okay, moong dal, which is a sort of a lentil, you can give moong dal to someone. Okay, and as well as camphor dhunis, where you light the camphor in a brass holder or in any clay holder, and you need to do Om Ram Ring Brom Sa Buddhyaya Namaha. Om Ram Ring Brom Sa Buddhyaya Namaha, and all this have that bell. Okay, sound is very important in Sanatan Dharma. Very, very important. Okay, so this is something to realize. Now, let us understand some of the karakas or significations of Mercury, right? Mercury is Rajasic. So, Rajasic, I told you, gets things done. There is Sattvic, which is very divine. Then there is Tamasic. Okay, now without the help of this guna, which is Rajasic, there can be no activity. There can be no movement. So Mercury, immediately by being Rajasic, we realize that Mercury is about change, about creation, about movement. Okay, earthy, that Virgo being that moon trikon sign, earthy. And of course, Mercury belongs to lower castes. Okay. Yes, Mercury belongs to lower castes, the Shudra community. Okay. Now, Mercury is a Karaka signifier of intelligence in both the systems. Okay. When we think of the thought, even before we think of the thought, there is a spark in neurons, that neuron is Mercury. Okay, that spark of intelligence. And then of course education. Thoth Hermes was also a scribe. Okay, even Ganpati is very closely connected to Mercury, and Ganpati literally broke one of his tusks off to write the Mahabharata. Okay, so scribing, writing is very, very important with the signification of Mercury. Okay, education, friends as well, adopted sons, adopted brothers, as well as business of any kinds, trading of any kind, including cryptocurrency. Okay, trading of any kind, mathematics. So if you tend to have a good idea of mathematics, then you will possibly have a good Mercury. Okay, so, yes, I am Bengali and I got educated in Calcutta. So, there answers your question. But it is not about me, is it? If you really want to know about me, drop me an email and I'll try to answer your questions. But it's not about me, you see. It's timeless knowledge. So, trade, mathematics, scientific learning. So, if you have a scientific bent of mind, then it is probably because you have a strong Mercury. Okay, you have a very analytical approach to life. We know Virgo, which is his exaltation, and Mercury's exaltation. So, you know how Virgo loves to optimize, how Virgo loves to solve problems. Okay, be it in the physical world, be it of the physical body as well. Okay. Also, Mercury signifies how good you will be in a particular skill you're trying to develop. So here you are trying to make furniture. You buy all the wood, you buy all the raw stock, and then you get the thing to cut up, right? Uh, Thank you. So, when you want to cut up all that furniture, then if you don't have the skill, if you don't have the discipline to cut that furniture, then to put glue, to solder them together, and then finally paint, finally do all of that, right? So, I mean, how do we then make furniture? We may have all the ingredients with us, but we don't know how to make furniture, right? The same thing with astrology. Now, I love astrology, I study astrology, but every time I come on YouTube and I press that, go live button, and then I'm mute. And I don't know how to come, how to express myself in front of you. Nobody's going to watch me, right? I may have like some really amazing knowledge. So, how proficient you are at the task you seek to do, that is Mercury. Okay, that is Mercury, right? Adeptness, also adaptability, I would say, because to be good at something, you need to always be ready to readapt yourself over and over again, honing those skills, working on those skills. Okay, speech. Mercury is tremendously important in the way you speak, in the vocabulary you use, in the way you carry yourself, especially with regards to intelligence and speech. You may look very beautiful. You know, some of those people exist. They look really beautiful. And then they open their mouth and you're like, you don't want to like really be there, right? That is possibly because they have a difficult Mercury and they have a very powerful Venus. So it makes them appear very beautiful. But when they start speaking, then you immediately like put off. Also, there's another kind where they start speaking, but they start, you don't understand. And then you can't make it useful for yourself because you can't decode that knowledge. So how good you are at expressing yourself is Mercury, right? Expression, words, if you're a writer, the kind of words you will choose, the kind of words that will come to you from the ether, that is Mercury, right? So if you want to get better at writing, if you want to get better at speaking, you have to work on your Mercury, studying, researching, analyzing, putting yourself to the test over and over again, right? Think of that Eight of Pentacles card, that person just chipping away and, working hard, okay? Publishers all come under Mercury because it's again the spoken word. Writers, publishers, screenwriters, all of these people come under Mercury. Also clerks, accountants, because I told you Mercury is also money, okay, also finances, how you handle your finances, right? Teaching, printing, some teachers we just love, right? We just love some of our teachers. I used to love some of my teachers and I'm still in touch with them. And every time I've studied their charts and I've seen, oh my God, of course, astronomy is very good as well. But I'm like, wow, that Mercury is super powerful in that chart. It's an operational benefic. So that's why that teacher appeals so much to us, right? We want to go to their class. And if when we are kids, if we like a teacher, we want to impress her. And we work hard, we try hard to impress her. We get our homework done, we take interest in that subject. So if your teacher has had a good Mercury, she's managed to inspire you to study, to show her, to interact with, because then what's happening when you interact with her, there is an essence of a knowledge is coming to you. So Mercury is very important for teachers and teaching, all kinds of teachers and teaching, okay? Even Zoom calls and public calls, because there again, the spoken word, the written word, social media, written word. So, when you see some people's account, you'll see they don't spell properly. I won't say cannot, but they use all of these textual abbreviations and these really simplistic, wrong, wrong vocabulary, wrong grammar. Everything is wrong. It's because they have an afflicted Mercury. The Mercury is an operational malefic, or somebody's just really scatterbrained. Then you immediately understand that Mercury is an operational malefic. Also somebody with extreme anxiety, like, oh my God, I'm so anxious, I don't know what to do. And Mercury also rules the anus, so this could directly connect to your bowel movements. Nervousness and bowel movements are so connected, right? We say, oh my God, did you shit in your pants, right? It's because Mercury also rules the anus. So when we are tongue-tied or when we are scared, we do tend to defecate. Okay. Even during death, actually, we defecate. So these are very interesting things, and Mercury rules the anus. So the speech and release has something to do. This is how you attach signification to astrology. This is how you delve deep into the subject, okay? Flowers, although we usually associate Venus to flowers, but many flowers are actually signified by Mercury. So gardening is also in a sense signified with Mercury, because that Virgo, which is Mercury's moon tricone and exaltation, deals with food. So again, anus, the release of food after digestion. See how concepts always link up with one another. This is what we are looking for, right? Maternal uncles, okay? I will, but not in this particular video. If you want, you can book a reading, right? So, maternal uncles are a signification of Mercury. So, if you have problems with your maternal uncles and aunts, even cousins, even your local area, your neighbors, they are also signified by Mercury, okay? Accountancy, like I told you, money, clerks, any kind of office job, any kind of social media work, blogging, vlogging, content creation, okay? Yeah, many people do, of course. Sun and Mercury mostly move together, okay? Mostly move together. Now, accountancy clerks, nephews, adopted sons, adopted brothers, I told you that. Pearls, oysters, okay? Black magic is also a signifier of Mercury. So if you are under a Mahadasha or an Antardasha of Buddh, and Buddh is an operational malefic for you, then somebody could do black magic on you, and you're open to that. Okay, not that you can't take precaution, but you're open to that. Many people who are sorcerers who put curses, I've seen people online who do that, put curses on other people for money, hurt other people psychically. All of them have an afflicted Mercury, or they have got the lessons of Mercury wrong. So, black magicians, sorcerers, people who are looking to harm with that spoken word. Why do we call it spelling? Why do we call it spelling? Because it's literally a spell. And this is not something new. This is because the Sanskrit alphabet is composed of matrikas. So we consider all of the Sanskrit alphabets to comprise reality. Every object manifests from that sound. Different sounds manifest different objects. So sorcery, black magic, spells, disparaging someone's reputation, maligning them is also Mercury. So if you see somebody who's a huge gossip, they keep gossiping about everybody, stay away from them. Because if they're gossiping about other people to you, they're possibly gossiping about you to other people. My dad always said that. If you ever see someone like that, stay away. That is an afflicted Mercury. Again, using the spoken word for some kind of, lower vibration. I'm not going to answer your question midpoint while I'm doing the video. I'm sure you understand that, right? I mean, unless you're post 16, then I forgive you. But no, I am making a video. So this is not the topic for that. Some other day. All right. Now, squint eye, right? Uh, bye bye. So squint eye, right? If some people have this kind of squint eye, or they have that lazy eye, like we have Ramdev Papa. He definitely has an afflicted Mercury. So squint eye could definitely mean an afflicted Mercury. Okay. Laughter. We do associate Gemini to laughter because we know that Geminis love to laugh, wit, humor, uh, the lightness of the human condition is oftentimes signified by Gemini. Laughing together, just sharing this beautiful, again, using the spoken word for something profound to generate laughter, and laughter immediately raises our vibration. So see how you can use Mercury or the spoken word as a way to uplift yourself. When you say something wonderful to someone, and they smile, or you say something funny to them, and they smile and they laugh genuinely, like from the belly. And then you know that you've in some way raised their vibration. So that is a good Mercury. So comedians oftentimes have a very strong Mercury. Very recently I had this really lovely comedian I used to watch called Hassan Minaj on Netflix, and sadly he's not with Netflix anymore because he took jokes to a new level of political awareness. He used comedy and he weaponized it so perfectly. I mean, I would love to study Hassan Minaj's chart that this man knows the power of jokes, knows the power of laughter. While making you laugh, he's going to show you the vices, the devastation of the world. And at some point, all we can do is laugh, right? We need humor to get through life, literally. So that's why Laughter Club. When you're super stressed out, you get together with your friends and you just laugh, right? You laugh, or you just tell each other jokes and you enjoy, and you really raise your vibration. So Mercury is so powerful when it comes to using the spoken word. A spoken word is also divided into three parts. Everything is triadic, like I told you. This is Vekhari, what I'm doing right now, talking to you, Vekhari. Then I have Madhyama, where I can whisper to you. I can whisper to you. And then I have Pasyanti, where I can think all these thoughts. And you guys just know what I am thinking, right? That's the future. That's where we are headed. So I literally think of these thoughts, telepathy. I literally think and I cogitate, I ruminate, I deliberate, and you know what I'm thinking, right? That's also telepathy, definitely a very powerful Mercury, or Mercury in that Pisces. Uh, I know it is debilitated, Mercury affliction in Pisces, especially that 15 degrees. But there's something about Mercury in Pisces that is really, really deep when it comes to these spiritual nuances of speech, even mantra. If you are a mantrani like I am, then Mercury has to be strong for you. But I already told you guys, I have a very difficult thing going on with Mercury. I have the Lord of the Sixth conjunct Mercury on my Lagna. So Lord of the Sixth is Saturn. I have that Saturn in the first house on my Lagna with Mercury. So people like that are atypical their speech is atypical. So although I do tend to have a good grasp on the language and vocabulary, but the way I speak is again a bit different. Okay, maybe I'm very dramatic because it's all happening in Leo, very expressive because there's a performative quality to Leo. Leo loves to perform. So that Mercury in Leo loves to perform. So this is, and I'm not mute. And I'm very confident about my speech. Yes, it has taken me a long time, but I have worked on that. That's a very strong Mercury in the 10th house on top, right? So unless that Mercury is combust or some other problem, that Mercury is a good Mercury. Writing, speaking, using the power of the spoken word. Taurus is not typically very funny, but if it was, say, the MC, Mercury on MC in Gemini, comedian, right? Even Aquarius. Mercury in Aquarius is extremely forward thinking, extremely futuristic. So oftentimes their concepts may be too obtuse for people to grasp, because the concepts are really stunning, stunning. So smells as well is Mercury's domain, smell, as well as the Vedas and the Puranas. So anybody who studies the Vedas and the Puranas are using the energy of Mercury. Eloquence, of course, I spoke a lot about eloquence and speech and the ways you can use speech and the written word. Temples, also going to temples. Some people need to go all over to different temples and then they find solace. Some people can just put a mat down, sit on the asana, and they find solace. So, there are different kinds, and Mercury in the eighth, yes. So, there is that interest in the occult. Okay, but Mercury in the eighth could become sorcerers, could become interested in the dark side of it all, the harmful side of it all. Uh, so now let's understand the appearance as described in the text. Okay, of course, no, before that, I think we need to understand some professions because I spoke a lot about professions, but let's discuss a bit more. So, writers, definitely, accountants, lawyers, all of that, okay? Craftsmen, any kind of craftsmen, social media managers, corporate, those people who maintain the social, what do you call them? Uh, for a company, they're responsible for the image of the company. So they are very mercurial. Publishers, auditors, script writers, copywriters, mathematician, teachers, charter accountants, uh, gem examiners. We did say that Mercury has, yes, public relation, of course, HR, of course, right? Put a dash of that Venus with that Mercury, and you have the best HR person. Depends on which sign and what have you, but you get the point, right? Journalism, arbitrators, negotiators, wow, educationists, people who write education related content or make education related videos. Okay, also tantrics, people like me who practice tantra, we are also fall under Mercury. That's because I have a very powerful mercurial energy about me. Librarians, of course, newspaper columnists, and of course, writing your own blog, vlog, or own content developer, website developer. All of that is Mercury. Now, as we move towards online, we tend to see there's a dash of Uranus somewhere, although we don't use Uranus in Vedic astrology as a graha. We have Navagraha, the seven traditional planets, and Rahu and Ketu. So we do not use Uranus or Neptune or Pluto, but I cannot demean these planets because they have had a profound experience in my life. So I do tend to add about these planets in my readings, especially the very detailed reading. Postman, although that's a redundant job now. I don't know that postmen don't really have much work. Programming, hackers, coders, all of these people are mercurial, okay? Especially if you're talking about coding, put a dash up that Jupiter or put a dash up that Uranus. And they're some of the best coders. Mars also. Mars in Aquarius conjunct Mercury. Super coders. But they also have that very powerful body, Aquarius people. Any Aquarius placements, you got that powerful body. If you can protect your lymphatic system, your circulation, you know. Now let us understand the body, the appearance firstly. Well built, large body, polite, very, very, sweet disposition, depending, of course, not if you are combust. No, combust Mercury comes with its own set of problems. So, polite talk, taste for wit and humor and comedy. We just spoke a great deal about that, right? Uh, okay, comedy and of course, bilious and rheumatic. So Saturn is a signifier for rheumatism, but also Mercury. Mercury, its doshas can give you rheumatism. Okay, it's earthy. Remember. Okay. Now parts of the body, very important. I spoke briefly about this. Bile, wind, passing excessive wind also can be a problem with Mercury. Okay, phlegm, anus, which I spoke about, the words, the anxiety level, the words you use. If you notice, if you're really angry and you sit down to eat, you don't digest properly. I have noticed this. Or if you're extremely charged up, extremely charged up and you sit to eat, I will not advise it. If you are in such a state of mind, turn away from food, cover your food, go into the room, breathe deeply, connect to your breath. Mercury is breathing as well. Connect to your breath. Immediately use emotional frequency tapping. Where you just tap. Use switch words like allow, flow, be, allow, flow, be. Use a 10 times chant like this. Watch your breathing, then go back to eating your food. I suggest if you're really in a vile mood, stay away from food for an hour, 60 good minutes. Do not eat food. Okay? Excessive burping, excessive, gas, uh, farting, right? All of this. So, thighs, skin, nervous system. Okay, so I said that nervous system is directly connected to all of these winds and bile and nervous burping and farting and all of that. Nervous system, direct connection over here, right? Now, if you have a difficult Mercury, what ailments can you expect? Especially, I told you that if Mercury is in a particular house and you are going through, is in a particular sign in a particular house, when the Mercury Antardasha Mahadasha happens, those significations will fructify. For instance, Mercury rules Virgo and Gemini, and your Mercury is in Leo. So, all of these three signs are literally going to be affected by Mercury during its Mahadasha or Antardasha. If a Mercury disposits many planets, then of course those planets are directly feeding off of that Mercury. So other things can go haywire. If that Mercury is an important final dispositor, although in the Vedic system we do not have one final dispositor. We understand the concept of dispositions, but we don't, like Hellenistic astrology has one final dispositor. Yes, Ceres, many people say Ceres rules Virgo, many people say Chiron rules Virgo, but I'm using Vedic astrology for this specific video. For me, Mercury rules Virgo. All right, 20 years of my experience, Mercury rules Virgo, not Ceres or Chiron, according to me at all. Okay, very ancient knowledge, tried and tested for thousands of years. Okay, now what kind of problems can you have with that Mercury, right? I spoke a lot about bile, right? Wind, phlegm, right? Phlegm. Of course, the anus. Any problems with the anus, which I spoke about, IBS, irritable bowel syndrome could happen. Okay, even constipation in some cases can happen. Okay, vocal organs or disorders in the brain also, especially if that Mercury is in Aries and is combust. Yeah, disorders of the brain, vocal organs. I told that vocal organ, right? Speech. So obviously the vocal organ, even what you think. I said how Vekhali and Madhyama and Pasyanti work, right? Mental diseases, anxiety diseases, hypochondria, panic attacks, nervousness, sometimes OCD, as well as ADHD, and all of those, that complete spectrum of ADHD and, hyperactive mind is when Mercury needs to be channeled correctly. Everything is about planetary rays. If you do not get the correct rays, you do not manifest. Everything is about the correct race. Okay, so you can get impotency, erectile dysfunction with this. Okay, I spoke about nervous breakdown, hysteria, neurosis of all kinds, fevers. Impotency can be many types. It could be literally a physical reason why you are unable to perform. It could be a psychological reason. It could be a spiritual reason. It could be a trauma response as to why you are unable to perform. So you have to, at that point, if you are experiencing impotency or erectile dysfunction, it's yes, there is. I will make a video on that, because impotency is actually a signifier of Mercury, as well as Venus, as well as Mars, as well as Saturn. Different ways impotency can show up. Porn addiction, whereby you become so attracted to that impossible situation or extreme degradation. It's all right to be into subcultures like BDSM, but where you are enjoying only really depraved video clips of women being, abused in multiple ways, that is not good. Okay, that is when we take away the sacredness of two human beings coming together. Okay, so that is something that is a huge problem that is being faced by many of my clients. uh, Excessive porno watching is also a trauma response. It's literally a trauma response. Sex addiction is a trauma response. So we need to understand why that erectile dysfunction or impotency is happening, according to which planet. All right. So as I said, that many planets could signify that. Mercury very well can signify that. Okay. Um, like I said again, fevers of all kinds, itches, eczema, or all kinds of itches that could pop up. Even you don't know what's going on and you suddenly feel like itching, right? Fractures. Having a bad Mercury could mean fractures, okay? Typhoid, vertigo, where your head spins, you go up, and even buses. Some people go on Volvo buses and they start going nuts, okay? Cervical excessive swelling, any kind of swelling, also sweating. When some people excessively sweat, that's mercurial. That is an imbalance with Mercury. Okay. Stammering, of course, I said atypical learning of any kind. Okay. Inability to use the correct word, or of course, when your speech is not perfect, that means you tend to stammer. That's when Mercury also needs to be corrected. So the speech consists of many components that need to come together for speech to truly be harmonious. Dyslexia, of course, yes. So that speech to be harmonious, you need to be able to express it in a particular way. You need to have the right words for it. You need to know the grammar. You need to speak it out correctly. So all of these components of speech must come together. Many people tell me that, especially in countries that have a different language, like we have a different language. We have Hindi, which we also know. We have our mother tongue. For me, it's Bengali. And then we know English. Many people tell me that, I'm unable to communicate vocally with English, whereas I write really well. But when I need to vocalize those thoughts and there are people around, or I've got a camera recording, and I'm unable to voice those opinions or put forward or posit those arguments, because I don't know how, I freeze. I don't know how to express myself. This is again a Mercury affliction. All components of speech, when they work in harmony, just as your device needs to also function, We attribute in modern astrology, we attribute devices failing to Mercury, right? Oh my God, Mercury is retrograde. Our devices will fail. The don't sign contracts. Why? Because when Mercury is retrograde, you cannot take the word for granted. Don't listen to anyone's commitments at that time. For that commitment spoken may not be kept because that Mercury was retrograde. It doesn't have to be. I mean, this is what pop astrology tells us, right? The device needs to function as well as all the different components of speech need to come together. So we better understand how the beauty of speech works, the magnificence of speech. When we say words are powerful, they are very, very powerful. Okay? A pen is literally mightier than a sword. Of course, there is the negative understanding to that where you use propaganda. And of course, there's a higher understanding where you use the spoken word to speak the truth. So immediately you realize there's also a subtle relationship of Mercury with truth. So, this is how you yourself, when you work with ideas and concepts, you come up with ideas like this. Corporates pay people like me, I mean, not me, but people like me who make all of these cognitive connections, thousands of dollars. They call it free thinking. So when you get understand an astrological archetype, you've got to put it to test. For just watching a normal video on YouTube about Mercury is not going to solve that problem, or will not elevate that speech to that degree that it connects to truth. Although Mercury is not a moksha karaka, right? He's a vidya karaka. He's a vidya karaka, he's a bandhu karaka. He's a friendly planet. He's also a janana karaka. So vidya karaka says a lot. Vidya is knowledge, is wisdom. So Mercury being vidya karaka, it is a signifier of knowledge that takes you to the truth, not superfluous material reality truth. As vidya karaka, Mercury takes you to the truth, the supreme truth. That's why Mercury is associated to Tara. Tara is Saraswati. Neela Saraswati is Tara, So here you have, and of course the seed sound of Tara is Ain. 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 Okay, Saraswati. Neela Saraswati is Ain. Tara is Trim and Trim. And Saraswati is Ain. So if you're invoking Saraswati, you have to say Om Ain, Om Ain, Om Ain. Okay? Vidya Karaka, remember that, signifier of education. So we've pretty much understood all of this. Vertigo, so excessive sweating, stammering, diseases of the eyes and neck as well, and nose as well. Okay, poisoning, white leprosy, piles, which I spoke great length about piles and IBS, indigestion, liver, stomach, intestinal problems that Virgo rules the intestines. So food and its digestion is very connected to Mercury as well, right? So this was a bit about Mercury in the Vedic system of thought, what Mercury signifies, how you may better ascertain the meaning of Mercury or Bud through these, these ways of cognitive thinking. How do you attach meaning to a particular word? How do you cogitate? Think tanks are mercurial. People get together, people think. Okay, so this is the scope of Mercury as Vidya Karaka, is to connect to the highest truth, ultimate way, to the knowledge, not just knowledge, but to the knowledge. Thank you very much for being a part of this live. I thoroughly enjoyed coming live and explaining Mercury in great detail to all of you. Mercury is one of my favorite planets. I, after all, work with speech, and thank you. And I work with speech, and I work with you know writing and content making and all of that. So to me, it's a very special planet, and I hope I have been able to inspire you to look at Mercury differently. And today, on the day of Mercury, to establish a deep connection with the Vidya Karaka. So his beat sound again before I go is Om Brang Bring Brom Sa Buddhyaya Namaha. Om Brang Bring Brom Sa Buddhyaya Namaha. Thank you so much and speak soon. Take care. Bye. And don't forget to book your session.